Leads Suck podcast, where we come at you every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time with the fire. And we've had so much going on lately. We actually had to cancel our guest because we want to talk about what we've got going on in our businesses and give a tremendous amount of value to you guys. Guys, I'm Dominic Felix.
Luis Rodriguez.
This is Sam.
And we are going to go in. And we were actually just having a conversation before we started the podcast. And I specifically want to talk to Sam and Luis about a property that we might buy. So we don't typically buy real estate and keep it as a long-term hold outside of our market here in Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, we might go to a neighboring county, like K County, like Clay County, St. Johns County, something close by.
Did you say KK County?
I did not say that, nor would I ever on camera.
Or on the first 5 minutes.
So
Not outside of
we're
camera.
we're actually under a purchase and sale agreement with a property that's located in a city called Dothan, Alabama, right? Now, it's not the most remote location. It actually seems like a fairly decent location, but it's a really low population. The deal seems like a great deal. Do you remember the numbers on it, Sam?
Yes.
So I think we're purchasing it for about $160 all in.
No, 170.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, because the
170.
seller carried back note.
Yeah.
Yes.
170 all in. And the ARV is probably...
Wait, did you say we're purchasing it?
He did.
We're under a purchase and sale agreement.
But what
With
are the
purchase
terms
price?
of it?
Well, yeah, we'll clear all that up. The first thing I wanted to say is 170, but the ARV is probably truly a 270, like you said, because we have a really good comp that confirms that, right?
And you can also use cash flow models.
And you can use cash flow models 100%. But we've never actually physically walked the house ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, we had an investor go to the house, and then he actually spent a home inspector, which they've provided the inspection to us. The investor seems like a newer investor. They got cold feet. We don't think it's going to work out with that investor. However, we're getting to the tail end of our contract agreement, and we're strongly thinking about holding it. So, Sam, how do you feel? And I'm going to Sam first. How do you feel about buying a property in a market or buying a property at all that you haven't physically walked? Have you ever done that?
No.
You've never bought and closed and held a property that you haven't physically gone and seen.
Correct.
Right. So, Luis, what are the parts of that experience?
Oh, wait, I'm lying. We did just buy the property in St. Augustine.
Yeah, you haven't seen it.
But when I say you're an extension of us, right? We've gone and seen it. We've had an inspection. But you know what I mean. I was gonna go down that rabbit hole, which is a whole nother. But what are the parts of the experience, Luis, to you that are important about that home buying process? Because there are a lot of things that are going through my mind. And I'm like, shit this, shit that, shit this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like,
make me a little bit nervous.
I mean, I know you would see this on Google Maps, but like, is there a prison down the street? Is the neighborhood like a hellhole? Is it somewhere where it's I mean, I guess you could look at this on Crime Stopper websites, but like, is it a gang-ridden neighborhood or something weird like that? Like, we don't know the neighborhood, we don't know the area, so we don't know what to expect over there. The other thing is like putting hands on it.
We just wholesaled the property. And we made a good payable on it. I think it was 20 or 25,000. In 322, we went through probate with Al.
Yeah, it was right up here.
What was the address?
07.
Do you remember the address? Brewster, right?
Yeah.
So that seems like a great deal, and I do think it is a good deal.
Yeah.
But when you go on that block,
oh my gosh,
what kind of experience is it?
The first thing is you see that horrid gas station right down the street with like vagrant.
A hard gas station?
Horrid.
Oh, horrid.
Yeah, horrid. Okay. Horrid. That's the Philly accent coming out.
So there's
with vagrants
beautiful,
outside.
kind gentlemen sitting on milk crates.
Yeah, sitting on milk crates, smoking Black and Milds and cigarettes, and peeing in cups behind the gas station. And you look at the street, and none of the houses really look inviting. None of the landscaping is inviting.
They all look like wholesale houses.
It just looks like the neighborhood is just falling apart. The whole neighborhood.
But there's a brand new construction there.
There is. JWB is definitely in the neighborhood, so that's always good.
And it's sold.
And a flip.
And it was sold. And there was a flip going on.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but those are things that you want to see, and that's the other side of it, right? Like, we know JWB put a house there. it's kind of like the McDonald's theories. Like if they're putting inventory there, then we know
Mhm.
that it's an area that they're willing to be in and that it's a good area. So, okay, that's something that we can kind of check off the list of other investors are here. It is kind of moving in the right direction.
Yep.
But
I feel
some
the
of this
same way.
can be done with Google Maps, but it's just not the same.
It's not the same. You
Yeah,
go on the block and you have this feel of like, does someone want to live in this place?
exactly.
How does a renter or a buyer feel when they're coming in and out of the house, up and down the street?
Right.
What kind of neighbors do you have? Do you have the opportunity to talk to them? All that kind of goes out the window if it's in another market and you can't actually go there,
Right.
right? There's more to it too. There's market research. Like we know Jacksonville is like revitalizing and there's corporations that are coming into the city and there's a lot of
Exactly.
growth and a lot of new builds and a lot of land buying, tons of development. And we all personally know the developers that are here in this market. So it just feels really, really good.
Yep.
And Jacksonville has been a part of the top 10 on a lot of different lists.
It was
Most fastest growing investment market in the nation
it was
for
just
years.
it was just ranked #2 in best places to live in the country. Bless me.
What?
Sorry. Excuse
Jacksonville?
me. No, not Jacksonville, Florida.
What's number one?
Massachusetts was rated #1, and Florida was rated #2 based on economy and job opportunity growth in the Florida market.
Yeah, and what are the big cities that we have here in Florida? We've got Miami,
Miami,
Orlando,
yeah,
Tampa.
yep, Jacksonville,
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale's kind of quasi
yeah,
big, and then Jacksonville. I mean, we're among the 5 or 6 biggest cities in the state,
right,
and then definitely one of the fastest growing for
right,
sure,
right,
because it's a great investment market.
right.
So now we talk about Dothan, Alabama.
What did Luke
Where
say
is
about
Dothan,
that market?
Alabama by? Google it. Joe Rogan has Jamie. Why can't we have Gino?
Jimmy Jano.
Yeah.
So we have Dothan, Alabama. We've done a little bit of market research, but now that it comes down to actually potentially buying it, we probably,
Well, you
would you
said
guys agree we have
we
a
were
little bit
gonna
more homework to do?
we were gonna do
Yeah.
the numbers and we didn't break down the numbers.
Yeah. So the first thing is,
Google
it
and pull it up on
seems
the
like
screen.
with the total purchase price, listen, it seems like with the total purchase price and the after repair value, there's potentially a true $100,000, right?
Yeah, but we're not buying it for cash.
Hmm?
We're not buying it for cash.
Whether buying, keeping, selling, the ARV exists.
Right, but what I'm saying is when you buy it, it matters how you're buying that property,
Right.
what type
Right.
of financing you're getting on it. Because
Right.
if we were buying it for cash and we had to tie up hard money,
So I want to go down that road. I want to talk about the financing that exists. I want to talk about the carryback note. And the first thing I just wanted to touch was there is a spread there that helps it make a lot of sense. That's one
Yeah.
of the things to me that's really attractive.
Well, and it
Because
has
there's
that.
proven comps that are showing that. Because the house that sold, correct me if I'm wrong, Sam, the house that sold is pretty well comparable to ours. It sold for about $326,000, and I think it's
no,
smaller.
236.
Mm.
No,
Yes.
no,
But does it have
no.
the in-law suite? Does it?
236,000.
Can you show it to me?
Does it
Sure.
have the in-law
Yeah.
suite?
No.
So the good thing about this property is that it
Because
has the potential for
oh,
additional
was it
rental income yield.
236 and ours is bigger? That's what pushes ours to 270.
Correct.
Yeah.
Please double check that for me
I
because
mean, I
And then
don't
how many
need
people
to.
live there?
I'm sorry.
I don't need to
How
because
many people live
it is
there?
236.
And what's the square footage on it?
So this one is 2,085
Population
square
is
feet.
71,000.
So it's
Yeah.
$113 a square foot. Ours is 2335
Now
times
do a population to
113
Google.
brings it up to 263.
263. So you rounded it to 270
Yes.
in Trello.
Yes.
But that one has a lot better curb appeal.
It has better. I mean, that's ARV property.
ARV property.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there's a fair size gap there.
Yeah.
for
But
value add.
it's not fixed up like, you would do a
HGTV flip.
yeah, like even a house that's 236 here in Jacksonville, I don't think they make it nicer than they made that.
Right.
Because they painted cabinets and it's a very old kitchen.
Yep.
They didn't open up the kitchen. It was closed off. They just replaced floors, painted, some landscape. I don't think they even changed the roof.
Mm.
And it was still on 1 acre, which ours is on 1 acre as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a very similar property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, pro and the con of ours is that it has 2 kitchens, because technically now it's not a single family. It's a house with a mother-in-law suite, which is not legally separated.
Right.
Right. But it
So
can be operated as 2 separate
it could
units,
be
right?
operated as 2 separate units, which I think in Alabama would probably be appealing, because your family could live in one unit, and then your sibling's family could live in the other unit.
Yeah.
Why Alabama? I think it would be awesome anywhere.
Well, because Alabama is more rural,
Yeah.
Okay.
so families probably live closer together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So you wanted to go down, you started trying to pair in the other numbers.
I think what matters when you buy the property is not necessarily what price you buy it for, because the price could be important only if you're buying it for cash. But if you're using other strategies or you have financing costs that's below the entire market, then you can make money when nobody else can. So with this property, the reason it's very appealing is because we're buying it subject to an existing mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So it's under contract, and initially was under contract for $15,000 as a down payment
Mm-hmm.
that goes to the seller.
Mm-hmm.
The underlying mortgage is $145,000 at 4% interest,
Mm-hmm.
3.99% interest, and his payment with taxes and insurance included is $1,100.
Right.
So we're buying it with an $1,100 payment, which if we were buying it for cash, there's no way we would have been anywhere close, because we
Yep.
would have used hard money, and 12% on $170,000 is $1,700 just for the interest
Mm-hmm.
without taxes and insurance.
Yep.
So now that we're buying it with taxes and insurance included for $1,100 a month, our
Mm-hmm.
carrying cost is a lot lower. And then the second thing is we don't have to have a lot of money to enter the deal. So we were giving the seller $15,000, and then he was financing an extra 10. That's where we get the total purchase price of 170, is because it's 145 for the mortgage plus the down payment that we're given to the seller of 15,000
Mm-hmm.
brings it up to 160. And then we have another $10,000 that is created as a second note, which the seller gets paid on as a secondary mortgage.
Right.
So that $10,000 note was going to be in $200 increments. So we were just going to pay seller $200 interest free. So it's principal only payments. And what you've renegotiated with the seller was to actually even switch the 15 and 10. So he just gets 10 at closing, and then 15 gets financed over time with $200 payments. Which, is that in writing already?
It's in writing already.
And he signed?
And he signed.
Okay.
Yep.
So I feel like it's very appealing. Now, here's another caveat. The seller's behind on his mortgage. So he's probably behind, what, 3 months?
We think it's around $3,700. I don't know. Let me see. We're in the beginning of August. I think it's around $3,700, including August's payment.
Okay.
But
So
we're coming up on a
let's
September
round it
payment.
to 4. So if he's behind $4,000, part of that $10,000 is going to go to pay those arrears.
Yep.
So out of the 10,000, the 4 is going to go to pay for the mortgage, which he got the mortgage in 2016. So right now, every payment that he makes, majority of it actually goes to pay the principal, not the interest. That's another thing.
Right.
So it's a mature loan where most of the payments that he had been making were going towards interest, but now the payments that are being made are going towards principal.
How many years are left on it? Do you recall?
Well, he got it in 2016, and it's
22.
probably a 30-year mortgage.
Oh, okay.
So you do the math.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 22, 23 years.
Yeah, it's been 8 years.
Right. So after 8 years, you've been paying off
It's 10.
mostly
It's like
interest.
10 years is the front load.
Right.
Yeah. So we're basically through the front load.
Correct. So
yeah.
now almost every payment is going towards paying the principal. So part of that 4,000 that we pay is actually going to go to reduce the $145,000 balance.
Yep.
So technically, our leftover mortgage is actually going to be like 142, 141. Um, so when we go to sell the property, that's the only mortgage that we need to pay off. Now, the interesting part is that we don't have to sell the property traditionally. We can try to sell it with um, our own version of seller financing, which would be either wrapping it in a new mortgage and creating a completely new note that's going to pay us more than what the underlying payment that we have
Mm-hmm.
on a monthly basis. So currently we're going to have 1100 that we're going to pay to the bank and 200 that's going to be paid to the seller, right? So our total payment on this property is going to be 1300 bucks. So if we, let's say, wrap it into a new mortgage, we
Mm-hmm.
can put a 6% interest and we can sell the property for, let's say, 200,000 or 210,000,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even without doing any repairs, right? Collect a $20,000 down payment, which is still less than the bank's. So we will take 20 grand from the buyer, and then we would basically finance the remaining 180 to them, which is going to be much more than what we're paying.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to be collecting, say we're paying $1,300, we'll be collecting probably closer to 1,600, and they're responsible for maintenance, taxes, insurance, and everything.
Right, right. So you're talking about selling it as a lease option,
No, selling it as a wrap.
as a seller financing deal.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, another way to sell it is to sell it as a lease option. So we find the challenge that I think we're going to run into is, although I don't know, because we could structure it like it's a seller finance, but then
Can
we
we
do lease option.
rewind a little bit? Okay, so before we move on to the lease option, you talked about selling it with seller financing, but you didn't talk about any costs for fixing it, right?
Yeah.
So are we gonna, you did?
No, I
No.
said without
Okay.
fixing. We would sell it
So
without fixing.
Yeah.
sell it without fixing.
That's why we would sell it for 200 or maybe 210, because if the real fixed out value is let's say it's not even 270, let's say it's 250, you're still giving them $50,000 in room
Gotcha.
to do those fixes. Maybe the only thing we do is clean it,
Yes. I mean, yeah, it has to be
remove
presentable for
debris,
sure.
which would
Yeah.
cost 4 grand.
Remove debris, clean the property, mow the grass on the outside,
Right,
make it presentable upon
right.
entry. And there might be some required fixes. So are some fixes we want to do to maximize the curb appeal.
True.
So that's another thing, like when you don't put your eyeballs on it,
Yeah.
it's just tricky to see a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask a weird question.
What do you got?
If we can get a flight into Dothan and back out on the same day, would we consider doing that on a Saturday or on a Sunday? And it only really needs to be one of
I
us.
think the answer is yes.
Yeah, I think we would.
Do we want to do that? So now we have a free inspection too.
We do have a
Because
free
basically, why do we have a free inspection? Because you got a flaky buyer.
He was a good buyer.
It was a flaky buyer.
Well, a
I
good
told you I
buyer.
didn't like him from the beginning.
Well, a good buyer says goodbye. He's a good buyer.
But I
Um,
told you I didn't like him from the beginning.
well,
and
yeah. I mean, they
You
don't have
convinced me
firm.
otherwise.
I mean, you get the buyers
And
you
here
don't like in the markets that you don't like.
Yeah. Yep.
So you give me a market we don't like, I give you a buyer we don't like.
Exactly.
Listen, we
with
market
all
in
due
Dothan.
respect,
We market in Dothan.
We
So
should, we did not.
we chose that market.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
so.
we chose Dothan.
I don't think
You
so. When I
It
reviewed
might be among the smaller cities, which we said don't
yeah, I think yeah,
excommunicate.
I think we've
Mm,
removed this several
yeah,
and just tried to stay because we've been having the difficulty on
but
dispos.
we
It's
didn't
like
remove them.
I think it's 70,000. I think we did
We can
100,000
check.
minimum.
We
How about
gotta
we
check.
agree to
Yeah.
Yeah,
check?
let's
I
check.
think we did 100,000 minimum.
How
just
many
'cause it makes
people live in Dothan?
70,000.
70,000?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
It's in the second tab.
Okay.
70,000 or
Sec-
7,000?
70,000.
That's not
too
a bad
bad.
market.
That's not good.
I gotta double check this. I don't know. Google, I mean, Gina, do you check DuckDuckGo or do you actually go to Google?
71,000.
Population of people
And that
in
was in
Dothan, Alabama.
2022. Can we see 2024? Did it go up or down?
Yeah, 70,000. 2022, I got the same thing.
Now, one thing I kind of don't. This buyer that you got, was he in Alabama?
No,
That's why.
that's partly why. Could be.
I think that's why, man.
Yeah, I think. So I know he's a little bit more of a newer player. And
Because we got the inspection from him after he backed out, which completely ridiculous because he just played us. He signed the
what part
agreement.
is ridiculous? Him giving us the inspection
He
or him
signed the
canceling?
agreement with a 0-day inspection. We gave him the right to inspect the property, and then he backed out, even though the inspection is actually clean.
Did he not?
Yeah,
property.
the inspection looks decent.
And he didn't put a binder down, right? This is the same
And that's
guy?
the thing. He didn't put the binder in.
He didn't put the binder in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was supposed to put the binder in prior to yesterday.
Now, are we going to make this rule where we ask for the binder before we sign agreements?
I
I
think.
think
Well,
that
here's the
just
thing,
limits.
because I think we can make the rule, but I think we'll always make exceptions for
Of
deals that are
course.
hard to sell.
Right.
Yeah. Because otherwise, yeah, I mean, we would have people lining up. People were not lining up for this property. But I do think, like, I'm leaning way more toward it's a little bit of a hidden gem. I think it's a good deal. I don't know if you guys feel the same. Lewis just doesn't want to buy anything, which rightfully so.
We said we
I
would
understand.
stack. So I'm just in that mindset. I'm not,
But
I don't mind buying the
we're
floor.
buying with a mindset to dispo it.
So let's
Yeah,
discuss
but I
this
don't like that.
because
Why?
I just don't. I mean, why wouldn't we buy Kathy's to do that? Same
We
thing.
did.
No, you know what I mean.
I mean Kathy's not a good comparison.
You know what I mean, though. Like
Yeah.
we're
For those
not.
of you that
We're
don't
gonna
know,
do
we
more
bought a
work on
property from a
Dothan.
lady named Kathy that was an outrageously really good deal
Yeah,
for all parties, including Kathy herself.
we're gonna do more work on Dothan than we would on Kathy. So
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
Kathy's deals are going to come about maybe once every 24 months.
Sure. I agree.
And if that's the only thing you buy, you're not going to make, you're going to lose out
No,
on
no,
money.
no,
You're
no.
going to leave money on the table.
I don't think that's a good comparison because we're not buying it Dothan the same way we're buying Kathy.
I just don't want to
So-
tie up cash the way
Kathy
we
to me
did
is
with
just
San
like a 2 to
Antonio.
3 month wholesale in a way.
We
It's
we
just-
tied up we tied up resources to do San Antonio, and we're still working through it with the pain in the ass that it is. You know.
Right, but
So I
that's
just don't want to be in the position that we do the
but
same
that's
thing with
completely
this.
different. That's resources to lock up a deal.
Mm-hmm.
This is a locked up deal that you just have to perform. Once you perform, you have control over the
But
deal.
what
We
if-
don't have control over that.
What if it takes us 6 months to sell this? Is
We
that
might.
right?
Very
And then we
well
have to pay the mortgage, and we got to pay for it, and we got to recoup those funds, and we got to deal
Correct.
with all that. That's the whole point of saying,
Well,
like,
To complement what you're saying, it's adding a lot of moving parts
right?
that the company right now is not technically built
Yeah.
for. Now, do we know all those moving parts? Have we done
Sure.
it a lot in the past? Yes, which doesn't make it entirely difficult. It's just we do have a good revolution right now,
We have
and now we're adding in some wrenches.
We have 20 properties right now that we're working on to add in a remote flip and tie up resources. I just think
What's
is
the
an
potential?
extra
How much
layer.
money can we make off of it?
Let me ask
Let's
a
do
quick
the
question.
math.
Let me ask a quick
Okay.
question before we do that. Would you guys be down to wrestle each other? Not right
Sure.
now, but in the next couple of days and film it. And whoever wins, we do the deal whatever way that person wants to do.
Let's do it.
Would you do it?
Sure.
Oh shit.
WrestleMania,
Gino,
jumping from
you have to make this happen, man.
the ladders.
Or you could also you could flip
I
coins
probably
like
would
they
have a
do
heart
with
attack.
Vukum.
Yeah, we could flip a coin
I
for
don't
it.
like flipping coins.
Why not?
It's two up to
'Cause,
chance.
Yeah,
Are you not good
Let,
at it?
let's run the numbers.
I
I don't- it's
wouldn't
up
mind
to
flipping
chance.
coin if it's something closer, not an extreme like buy it, don't buy it.
Yeah.
If it was like buy it and yeah, if it was something closer.
Yeah. Well, let's run the numbers. I
Okay.
think that's the best thing we can do.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So
So-
our cost for acquisition is going to be $15,000.
Okay.
Okay.
How much is
Right.
closing cost?
That's $15,000
Okay.
because it's 10 grand to the seller and 5,000 in closing costs.
And guys, a lot of times when we're trying to figure out what to do with the property and how to exit it, these are the discussions that we have.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's $15,000 to buy it. Let's go to the extreme and say it's going to cost us $4,000 to clear it.
Okay.
So we're at 19. And let's say we're going to need another $10,000 for landscaping and necessary repairs.
Okay.
Is that conservative enough?
Sure.
So when we say that, we're talking about because one AC unit works, the other doesn't. We think it can be repaired.
Correct.
There might be some miscellaneous fixes, like there's a hole in the floor somewhere.
Yes.
tighten up some loose ends around potentially.
What about roof?
I think the roof just had a couple of events where the sealant came off. I think that could be repaired. It doesn't necessarily
And I
have
don't
to
think
be.
any part of it is leaking at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have an age on it?
We
We have to check.
yeah, we
Okay.
have to check.
I don't remember.
Okay.
So what are we at right now?
29,000.
And the inspection probably has an estimated age
Yeah.
left on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Do you want to add anything else to it?
Well, what's holding costs?
Let's add holding
Don't we
costs.
also have a seller carryback loan we have to pay every month as well?
Yeah, that's going to be part of the holding costs.
Okay. Well,
Call the holding
Okay.
cost $1,400.
no.
Yeah,
No, because we would have to make payments monthly.
correct.
Correct.
Right. So
Times 6.
1,400. I got what you're saying.
Times 6.
So
Should we do 1,500? I mean, I don't know. So we have to
that's
keep the power on,
24,
and we have to
Call it
cut the
15.
grass.
Call it 15.
Call it 15.
3, 6, 9. So that'd be another 9,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're at 38,000 now.
Okay. Now, part of the holding cost is obviously,
You said 38,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
let's round it to 40.
Okay. We're
So
at 40,000. now.
$40,000.
Gotcha.
Okay. So what's the potential on that deal?
Well, that's why I'm asking. What do you think we're gonna get for it?
So I think we could sell it for $200,000
Mm-hmm.
and secure a buyer who would give us probably a $25,000 down payment.
Okay.
And then they would just be paying us monthly.
So we would be out $20,000.
No,
We
because
would be
we are buying
waiting monthly to get paid.
correct, but our underlying purchase price
Mm-hmm.
is
170.
well, actually it's more because it's 170 plus 5 for closing costs
Mm-hmm.
plus repairs.
Plus holding costs.
Correct.
So 40,000 plus 170 puts us at 210. We're gonna sell it for 200.
Does it put us at 210?
It's 40 plus 70.
No, you can't do 40 plus 70
What do you do?
because part of the 40 is within the 170.
Oh, you took out like the cash that we're closing with?
Yeah.
Okay, so take out the 10.
So
yeah,
you got
but
to
there is
30.
besides the 10, the payments that you're making is also coming out of the 170.
It's 155.
Yeah.
It's 155 plus 40, so 195, and you're selling for 210.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not good.
So we spend 40,000 to make 15. I'd rather
Now,
spend
do you
40,000
sell it
on
for
PPC
210 if you
leagues.
do those things? Or do you sell it for more?
If that house sold for 236,
And it was smaller.
And
and then we're 260, and then they need fixes.
and
What I would think is
Now, here's one more thing that
wanna-
we need to add. I just looked at the rentals, and apartments are renting for $950 a month.
okay.
That's for an apartment. So you could probably rent each side for $950. Let's call it $900
Yeah.
as
So
a worst
1,800
case
a month.
scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your payments we said 15.
Your payment's actually 13.
Okay.
We said 15 because we would be paying for utilities
Okay.
and
Okay.
some kind of maintenance.
So you'd get 18. You're collecting or you're paying 13. You get 18. You still have property management. You still have miscellaneous because you're the landlord now.
Correct.
And you'd have to do more repairs in order to get somebody to rent it. So we're not actually at that 40 number. We're at a
I don't
higher
think
number.
we're the landlord seller finance. That's what we were talking about.
I thought you were saying he could rent it at.
Well, could we
18.
do a lease option is what I'm
1800.
saying. Because the lease option buyer would be able to pay $2,000 a month.
Okay.
Is that right?
Sure.
Potentially.
So if they pay $2,000 a month,
And you can even convince
And
the
you
lease
don't have-
option buyer that they have an offset rental.
right, and we don't have any maintenance costs or
So what's the numbers we would get out of this?
we'd be
That's what I'm-
paying $1,300 and they'd be paying us
No, I'm saying we're putting 40,000 in and we're collecting how much to get out.
I think
What's
it's going
the
to be
exit?
tricky getting more than about 20,000.
Okay, so we would do
Call it 20.
we would put up 40 and spend 6 months to make 20 grand. Now, in my opinion, wouldn't we just break $20,000 down over the next 6 months and put it into PPC and put 50 more deals under contract instead?
If we can handle the volume.
But if we can handle the volume that we have now and a flip rurally, why wouldn't we just do more paper flipping rather than house flipping?
Let me ask you this. Would we buy it, not repair anything, just clean it, and put it back on the market like that?
And then we have how much in a deal? 20K?
And
No,
then-
15.
We'll have 15 to buy it and then another 4 to clean it. Let's call it 5. So
So
we're at
20.
20.
I just
So
don't
would we
know.
buy it for 20 and sell it for 20?
Well, we
Make
would
some
either
and
sell it
make
for,
some monthly cash
we
flow.
And
would
then you
either
still
make
have another
monthly,
9,000 in
correct.
payments.
Huh?
You still have 9,000 in holding costs
How?
because we said 6 months.
Yeah, but that all comes back
Yeah, but then
because it
you're
comes
at
off the purchase.
29,000.
Correct, but it's like putting money in a savings account because it goes to pay off the house
Right.
and the seller.
Right.
So now your underlying base for that property is less.
Yeah.
So all those holding costs come back to you. It's like putting money in a savings account.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like flipping paper. I think if you start flipping
So do
paper
I,
and
but
houses,
if
it
we have a
starts to get
choice to cancel this deal or to buy this deal, do we buy it or do we cancel it?
Cancel.
So let's talk about really quick about a couple of things that we mentioned during lunch. Like another advantage with the lease option is paying a lower amount of taxes on the money that you do make if you're selling it more than a year later.
True.
So if we wind up, we're in the 30 to 40 to 45% tax bracket based on the amount of money that we're going to make this year. And after 12 months, we can be in the 19% tax bracket on this deal. Is that worth it?
I don't know
Mm.
why, but I feel strongly like that property should be selling
I'd rather try that in
because there's so
Jacksonville.
much, like there's new construction going on there.
Yeah, but wouldn't you go to the new construction round for the same price?
It's selling for $260,000 for half the size of a house.
But I think
But
it's
it's new.
known based on what we've experienced and the people that we talk to, especially the people that are helping us with our PPC, that people typically do wholesale deals in markets up to 1 million people or more, or 500,000 or more. And
Right.
this is not a market that's like that. So we're less than we're 70,000.
70.
It sounds not too small because I think we've also seen markets with 800 and 1,200 people.
Oh, yeah.
So 70 seems big, but it's not anywhere near a half a
No.
million person market.
What's your economy in 70,000 people? What's going on in that city that's so
I think
big
we'd
that
be
every people
surprised.
have the money there?
Well, if the builders are building neighborhoods there, I think that's the McDonald's index.
I don't know. Real estate
Is
is
that
a red
going on?
flag risky industry.
Of course.
Yeah, so building there doesn't necessarily mean that that's a good sign.
Yeah,
It's
but they've done the research.
our jobs going there.
They've
Our
done the
jobs,
research though.
sure. Our jobs going to Dothan, Alabama, or are they going to Birmingham 3 hours away?
We can check that.
Because I agree. I think Birmingham's probably a better place to put your cash than Dothan. But
So
a place like
you would
Birmingham,
vote to cancel that deal.
100%.
What would you vote?
There's good business and
I
bad
would
business.
I
It's
would
not
say
all good.
that if it's this tough to figure it out, it's leaning toward a no.
Yeah.
So you would say no.
No.
So you'd say cancel it.
I would I would try to figure something out before canceling, but yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'd probably rather cancel than monetize for a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't want I understand the process of trying to squeeze every
But
bit
I
of
think
juice
we can
out
do
of
more
every piece
market
of fruit you
research.
get. But
Mm.
sometimes I think it's not worth squeezing a piece of rotten fruit just trying to get that little bit of fruit that's in there that's
Yeah.
not rotten.
But it's
Like
not a
I've
rotten
probably
fruit.
I spent a good amount of time on this deal, and I've spent a good amount of time, a tremendous amount of time on another deal that we weren't able to sell.
I've marketed it several
And
times.
the ones that
He's
we make
marketed
the
it
most
and
money
the other
on, I
ones.
spend very little time.
Did you guys talk
100%.
to agents?
Yeah, we have a whole list of agents in there. We can review the agents that we have
For
on the
Dothan?
yeah.
I don't think
We
I've
do.
talked to
We have
agents.
a list
Did
of
you
agents.
talk to them though?
I didn't personally speak to them, no.
Who would have spoken to them?
Well, Bradley's supposed to, but we all know how that works.
So he didn't.
Sure.
Okay, so nobody talked to agents.
No, nobody talked to any agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we basically got to the point where we had a buyer, and we still have time on it. I think we still have a couple of weeks, but we had a buyer, and we worked with that buyer.
Because this is what's throwing me off.
So I
Didn't we
don't
put it on
think,
Investor
I don't
Lift?
think,
No.
No.
I don't think we could, like, if you have a buyer and you're working out and you're getting to signed agreement, it doesn't make sense. Keep working that deal to get more backup buyers when you have other deals that need
Sure,
buyers
I
in
agree with
place.
that. What I'm saying is, what's throwing me off is first thing is I don't
But
like
you're
that
going
that
in a different direction, though.
Right.
no, not necessarily.
Well,
I
you're
don't
saying
like that
buying it
that buyer.
versus still trying to exit it as a wholesale.
Well, let me finish. I don't like the fact that that buyer was out of state and he wasn't there and he doesn't have any properties in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very big red flag.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is the inspection came back. You and I both reviewed it. There was nothing wrong that was major or anything that would have been a catastrophe,
Mm-hmm.
especially for a house like that or a
So
house of that age.
qualify that statement, though.
Foundation issues.
What I mean is, like, we have seen tons of inspection reports,
That
Yeah.
are way
and we all
less.
know inexperienced people, when they look at inspection reports, how do they see it?
Correct.
It
Yeah.
might look like a disaster to people that don't know how to really see through the lines.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I think this dude is a newer
Yeah.
investor.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is the fact that when you run the numbers, there is profit to be made. So I don't see that deal as a rotten fruit.
Okay, so we're talking about borderline buying it or not, and we don't have a wholesale fee to pay. This buyer has a wholesale fee to pay.
Right.
Which is 5K.
It's not 5K.
If it's 5K plus 5K after you find your buyer.
Right, so
Yeah, but-
10,000?
Sure,
I'm
10K.
sure he's still factoring that in.
Sure, 10K.
And he's also factoring in
So
his
at
seller
some point,
carryback.
there's every K, there's a straw that breaks the camel's back. Now,
Right.
I'm not saying let's not figure this out. Let's not call agents. That's going in a different direction.
But we're
totally wanna do that.
borderline trying to figure out whether we buy it or not because first it's outside of our market. Like if that deal was in Jacksonville, would we even be discussing it?
We'd definitely go walk it.
We would go
Right, but
walk
would
it and
we
we'd make
like
that
let's
decision.
say we walked it and it
No.
appears as it appears in the inspection.
It'd
would
be
we have
easier
bought it?
because we have a whole team here, though.
I think we'd
Understood.
have a way different experience in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and Jacksonville also. Here's the one thing that you are missing: Jacksonville has 1.1 million residents. That's the difference.
I mean, if we lived in Dothan, Alabama, there would have been your home market. I think it's not how many people are in that market. Obviously it's a factor, but I think it's more like, are you familiar with that market and are you comfortable going outside of your own market?
Now, if based on the numbers that you guys were running, there's very little, if anything, to be made, I don't think it matters if it's
If
in
this was
Jacksonville.
Kathy's house in Dothan, I'd be like, let's do it. We could make 200 grand on a house. Hell yeah. But it's like, well, we can make 15 grand. We should do it. You know, I could make 20 grand right now selling tires. Should we start selling tires this week since we could make 20 grand doing it?
Maybe.
We're not in the tire business, so no.
You
But we're
know?
in the real estate business.
So
That's different.
I'm just saying, we have good things that we can focus on. I just wouldn't want
Cool.
us to pull our attention in other directions.
So we got work to do on Dothan.
Yeah.
I think we like the house. I think
I
that's
think we
one of
like it. And
I
there's
think that's a dangerous thing
Did we
too because we
renegociate?
like real estate and we like good houses. I just he's down to
pennies.
yeah, because I had to renegotiate to make it work with this buyer.
Yeah.
And the guy is not going to have much proceeds, and he needs a little bit of money to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, we could speak to some realtors and see if they have people that are worth it. But
I think, are you looking for, like, do we even have the opportunity to renegotiate so we can make more? Or
I
make
wasn't thinking
something?
of making more. I was just
Or to
thinking
make
of make something.
Yeah,
Like, can we get the deal down low enough that it just like makes sense for somebody else to
Yes,
do?
and we did
but,
that. That was,
yeah.
and then we didn't know if it was going to work, and it did, thankfully.
Yeah.
And the buyer still got cold feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this guy's in arrears.
But I just don't think that buyer
Yeah.
was a real
So
buyer
I don't
for
want
that
you to
property.
feel like we're giving up on the deal. I think we were talking about whether we're going to buy it or not.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think like if we have a deal and we feel confident that we can sell it, and it's not a high entry fee, why can't we sell it after we take it down and make money? Because then we have control over the deal. We should be able to sell it for more.
Well, that's what we're concerned with, is that we haven't had anybody who wants to buy it now. So we don't want to take it down in the event
So I think
nobody
the
wants to buy
new,
it after.
well, I think the new thing to do is to see, like you said, is there a potential to sell it for more? And do we have experience in the lease option selling side of the business?
We don't.
Right. So we'd have to do research to see how confident we are to see if that's a good exit strategy.
But
Because I
it's
do
the
know,
same
like
as
the people
seller.
that I talk to, like a lot of the people that don't qualify to buy real estate and they're ready to pull the trigger and buy real estate, in a lot of cases they would pay their 20, 25, 30,000, but they don't have the 20, 25, 30,000. So you might have to take 10 and take the rest in payments.
Go back, Gina.
So
The
there's
what is it
the
called?
down payment assistance
There you
program.
go.
So you'll have to create a down payment assistance program as to
Scroll
where,
down
all right.
just a little bit.
And then it's a good idea
Open
to
the
look
map.
for the total. Wait, we
Sorry.
were in the middle of sentences.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to look at the numbers in complete totals, whether it takes 3, 6, 9, or 12 months, right? So if you can either get some of the money back or cover costs in down payments, cool, right? If you can make a little bit of cash flow on the monthly payments, so if our nut is 1,300 or 1,400, and then someone's paying 1,800, how much is that in 12 months, right? And then on top of that, if they have to pay the remaining of the $25,000 or $30,000 down payment in an additional $1,000 per month over how many months that is, at the end of that time period, 12 or 15 months, if there's a surplus of 30, 40,000 on top of our costs, is it worth it?
Yeah. So
But it's just over a year.
Right.
here's the other thing too. Like I look at that map and I consider Tallahassee and Destin and Mobile and Montgomery. I consider all of those like secondary and third level markets.
We're having good experiences in Montgomery.
Yeah, but like I
But-
wouldn't consider that like a primary market like Orlando or Jacksonville. So when I see something like Dothan, I like, is that a fourth level market? Fifth level? Like what
Well,
are
now
we
you need to
looking
create your own levels then.
Right, that's what I mean.
Based on
Like
population.
I just look at it and I'm like, it's barely even highlighted on the map and we Googled the city. You have other cities that are more prominent on that map, and those aren't even markets that we would want to really
But I don't
buy
think
in
you
all the
can
time.
look at a map and make a judgment on what you think. I think you look at the numbers. You look at properties
I'm
that's
just
selling.
thinking of
What price
numbers
are
and
they selling
and
for?
economy.
Well,
Days on market.
that's
Because
the
we
issue.
are
Is
going-
days on market.
What is the
comp,
temperature of all
and
that
the
we're-
stuff?
comp
we're-
that we have that sold in less than 30 days.
And we're going into an election.
That's even better.
No, well, not according to half the people we've spoken to. Half the people
But the
you've
other
spoken
half
to
say
said
it
that
is
they
better.
don't want to do
Yeah,
anything, and
I'm
the
not
other half.
part of that house.
Yeah, well, we're buying and working with people that aren't part of that half.
I don't think in Dothan, Alabama, we are.
So my question, back to my question. We talked
Yeah.
about the numbers. What if the numbers made sense and we made a $30,000 or $40,000 surplus, but it took 12 to 15 months to make that total amount?
Just seems like a lot of work. A lot of work over a
What if-
lot of time.
It's
Or
a
is
lot
it
of work
30,
to do a
30 to
file
40
too.
grand
Wait.
in 12
Is
months?
it a lot of work? Or is it just perceived as a lot of work?
Well, I mean, Sam's been flipping houses here in Jacksonville while we're working, and it seems like it's a
But we're not
headache.
I don't think
flipping
I
we're
it.
think we're gonna have to
I
do
think
more
we
work
do
than
have a
you're
little bit of a new
expecting.
game.
Yeah.
You have to make sure like there's insurance retained. You have to make sure the payments are received. If they're not late charges, collections, there's risk of having to kick them out and do it all over again. Do they trash the place? So there's, it's a different game. So
Yeah.
I think we'd have to weigh the potential. But in a perfect world, if we can make $30,000 on that file, but we don't get it for 12 to 15 months,
And how much do we have to put up
do we still
in that
do it?
time period?
Less than 10K.
I mean, maybe, but if it's less than 10K, but that's not what we're talking
Let's call it
about.
10K.
Okay, if it's 10K and we get 40 back in
40
12
back
months.
and 30 profit.
Okay, I mean, I would entertain that for sure. I think that that's reasonable.
Yeah. So I think that's what we weigh. We do a little bit of market research. We weigh what the potential is collectively, and
But
whether it's a smart.
that's
How
like a
much longer do we have
400%
left on that
return, though.
file?
That's a 400%
We have
return,
to
no?
go and look because
I think October.
it's 45 days after the day we got it.
which
Got
was
it.
yesterday.
No,
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 we
no,
got the
no.
photos.
We got inside with the photos. Yes,
Right.
we finally got because he disappeared for like almost a month.
Yeah. No,
And we were following up, and
yeah.
finally
I
he
remember
came
this
back. He
guy.
was sick in the hospital and stuff
Yeah,
like that. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we might have up to a couple of weeks left.
Okay.
But you're talking, what you just explained to me was a 400%
But we did
return,
lose a week messing with this fucking
correct?
buyer. What's that?
What you just explained to me was a 400% return.
I'm a wholesaler. I'm not a mathematician.
What we were
so
speaking about earlier was a 50% return.
I wasn't really talking about a loss earlier.
Well, no, we were talking about making 20, spending 40 to make 20.
Getting the 40 back,
Uh, well, getting the 40 back over time.
right?
Yeah. So we were only making 20. So that was
Yeah.
a 50% return versus what you just explained to
Which
me
is
was
also
a
fantastic.
400. Yeah, but
50% returns are good.
Yeah, but 400's a lot different.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Fair enough.
that's like dating a 40 instead of a 10 or a 6.
Fair enough. Can I ask you guys a question? And I know we went back and forth on this, but we do have this elephant in the room deal that's just sitting there waiting for us to sell it. And I know we kind of went back and forth on this, so just so that everyone knows in here, we bought a property, we took it down with hard money, and now we're just sitting on it because we're going to sell it and we're going to make a fat nut. I think our minimum, everything we measured, in a worst case scenario is going to be like 150,000 bucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In a best case scenario, we can be closer to 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
180 to 190 or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it was like 190.
So there's a good payday there. There's a good payable. It feels to me a little uncomfortable that it's just sitting there, even though we do have a plan for it. Should we be making time to sell that?
I've been trying to tell Bradley and Lewis almost every
Me
day.
too. I'm
Yeah.
a part of it.
I think
I'm a
the only
culprit.
I think the only
But
reason
what
we
I'm saying
haven't
is,
is because we already have a
well, we've
buyer.
never really put a solidified conversation on making a decision to do it. We've talked about it, and then we've talked about the risk of selling it and the occupant, the former
Well,
seller
remember
that's
we had the
staying there.
realtor argument when I said we
We've
need to
called
call.
realtors. We called them. I called 10 realtors in total for you.
And what happened?
They all have somebody who'd be interested
Did you call the realtors that
in the
sold?
neighborhood, and I also called 4 realtors that were friends of mine. Yeah. So everybody has buyers. The one question everybody asks,
Can I see the place?
can I get inside? And I go, you cannot get inside yet, but what you can do is send me a passive contract and I can get you inside. And they all go, well, why would my retail buyer give a passive contract on something that they have to watch on video?
Because it's a really good deal.
They don't care.
They don't care. It's a good deal.
No.
So let's talk about
So it's
it,
only
right?
10 people though.
Let me
There
ask
might
a
be
quick
other
question.
there might be other people who won't care.
Let me
I'm
ask.
sure there are.
Can I say
Yeah.
that? Okay. And I'm asking this for them, not for us, but why can't we go inside?
But we can, but the headache of dealing with the individual who we're dealing with is just
Okay.
it's is it worth creating the hoopla that will happen from it when we know mandatory we have to pay for points on this for a minimum of 90 days.
Right?
Mandatory.
Right.
And we're
So that
only going to
means
use 43 of the 90 days that we mandatory have to on giving the lease back.
Gotcha.
So we mandatory still have to pay for 47 more days without whether we want to or not. So we have the time and the flexibility, and I think that we could gain a lot more interest and have more people willing to bid if they can get in. It's cleaned out, it's pressure washed, it's all of that. I think that's
So
where
we'll
you'll
spend
get
Are
more
the
more
trees
people
cut
bid.
there, by the way?
I meant to call the guy yesterday to find out what's going on, so I have to get back with him. So
You know we're about to get canceled.
no, we're not. I know.
They
I
gave us
know what
30
we have.
days.
I know, and I'm working on it. I already have it set up on my calendar. So I just think that having the trees removed, having it cleaned out, doing all that, and then having those realtors bring those people there, that's when you'll get somebody to overbid. We already have somebody that will pay and will make 150. It's already done. We've pushed them away. That's how much it's already done. And the guy's a really good agent who knows his stuff. So he wouldn't buy it if it didn't have value.
right.
You know? and he gets to see a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of other people who don't get those same opportunities who
Hmm.
would pay that and pay more. So I look at it like it's a gold bar.
Sure. Well, like to
Why take it
people,
to every pawn shop?
to companies like ours, right?
Hmm.
I think we should look for a deal as to where we can make a minimum of $10,000, right? That's our minimum goal. We like 15 or 20 plus, right?
Yeah.
But we also don't dislike the $10,000 deals, right?
No.
So in a case like that, we can make 150, right? But
Yeah.
every $10,000 more, that's like an additional deal, right?
Yeah.
So we want to do our best, especially since we own this property now, to maximize on the deal,
Right.
right? And I think we talked about getting a retail buyer at the end of the day. They will pay a premium.
That would get us towards that
That would get
190.
closer to 190, maybe even closer to 200,000.
And if you have it cleaned up, you have it on market, you have people anticipating, okay, this is going live on Friday. Let me tell my buyers on Tuesday about it.
So here's
And then you have it go live on Friday. You'll have 40 people in that house Friday to Saturday. If you try and do it now over the phone and make people give you a passa just so that they can get in there, you're not going to have the same buildup and hype.
Should we try to get two parties in there, two families?
Yeah, I think we can do that. Again, like I said, do you want to make 190? You want to make
I'm not
150?
saying should you do it. I'm saying should do it because I mean we're all.
Well, no, that's what I mean. But do we want to make 190 or we want to make 155? Because if we
190.
want to
Oh,
make one, then if we want to make 190, we have to pressure wash it. We have to have it empty. We have to have the trees cut, and we have to have the lady out, and we have to give people easy access
Do
to be
we
able to
have
get in
to?
and go. I think. That's how
So
you get
let's give a
190.
little bit more information about the selling numbers, right? I think that we think ARV is at least $600,000.
I think 600 is fair. Yeah.
600 fair for ARV, right?
Mhm.
It can be pushed above.
I
Yeah,
think
I don't think
600 is even a little
I think
low.
that's very conservative,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think a good neutral with a good amount of time on the market is 625.
Yes.
And then I think a very elaborate remodel that looks beautiful can be 650. And if it has a pool, there's several pool homes that have proven over
700 and above.
$700,000. So
Right.
we all agree with those numbers?
100%.
Okay, right. So we've also seen properties very close to ours or just as dated as ours that have sold for around the 500 plus mark, right?
Yes.
So if we go and we list it for 499, I think from what I recall, it'd probably be one of the lowest, if not the lowest on
It
the
would be
market.
the lowest on market by $35,000. And the comparing house is 700 square feet smaller, one less bathroom, one less bedroom.
Gotcha.
And we would be $35,000 less.
So in your
And by the way, at that $35,000 less, we make $140,000. No,
So
that's when we would make 190. No, yeah, we would make
so
190 at that price, and we'd be less, more space, more rooms, more bathrooms.
so in your example of how you think it will go, we also have to clear all the debris out of the home.
I think so. I think if it's empty and people can paint their own vision in there, that's when you're going to get people to offer 505, 510, 520, 525 because they're going to go, it's only going to take me 50 to
It's a great
60 grand to
location.
get this where I want it to, and it's going to be worth 600. And at 520 with 50 grand, you're still at 570. They still get 30K of equity. And that's again on the conservative low side.
Mhm.
And all they really need to do is rip out carpets, put in LVP, remove the kitchen, which is just cabinets really.
Mhm.
Put new cabinets in because you're already gonna do LVP, and then
Rewire.
And people in
yeah,
that,
and then
maybe
not
maybe not
rewire, no,
rewire,
just the
You have to
box,
new
rewire.
panel.
the box. It's just the panel.
It had aluminum wiring.
No, that's
I
not
don't think
connected.
it had.
The aluminum wire is not connected. It's disconnected.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but I
then
do think
you
they
have to
have
change out the
to
bathrooms.
increase the amperage, so bring in new
So
amperage
it
from
is a
JDA.
rewire
It's only
or an upgrade.
yeah, it's 100,
Yeah,
not
panel
150.
upgrade.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but so it's not a crazy amount of work. And again, at 500, I think you're going to get somebody who goes, I'll pay 505 right now and take it down because they know it's worth 6 and they know that there's only 50 grand in there.
Gotcha.
So, and I think that's easy.
And we don't think
easy.
if we had 4 interested buyers from grinding with realtors, it would happen the same way.
I just think that there's more pressing stuff. Like I look at things as like, what's the priority?
Well, that's exactly my argument.
Blowing up fish in a
And
dynamite
it's not
barrel.
arguing with us, but that's my argument. Should this be the more important thing?
No,
No.
because we still have 90 days that we have to pay no matter what. There's nothing we can do to get out of that. So we still have to use the time. We know that it's shooting fish with dynamite in a barrel. We have 2 properties that we have to close in 14 days right now, and that we still don't have buyers for. So what's the most important? Working on that or working on those 2 properties?
I agree.
Right. And so that's the way. And by the time that we do get buyers for those 2 properties, he'll have 4 more for us. And one of those are going to be fucked up in Dothan again. And they're going to be right back to the same spot. So it's just keeping it moving and knowing that we have this in the back pocket. And that's what I think the beauty of it is.
Cool. So me and Sam buy Dothan and we keep it moving. You down for that?
You know?
I would buy Dothan.
We
I
can
like it.
We can take
So it's got
distros
a lot
and
of
you guys
good
can buy
quality,
it.
especially long term. It's a good house,
You guys can just release it out of contract, and I'll go contract it and buy it.
dude.
We'll
The
take
company needs to
distros and
eat.
you guys can go
Company
take it
doesn't need
down.
to eat. You guys are canceling.
Yeah, we'll
Company
take
needs to
distros
eat,
and you guys
baby.
eat it.
Sam's gonna go home the day after we cancel and call Larry.
I'm your Larry. I have
Larry
$9,000 for
Hoover.
you.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's a good argument because you have this deal. It's just sitting there. It's money to be had. Another argument could be made like, is 190 right now better than 195 in 2 months?
Yeah, but you're not going to get 190 right now.
That's my question. For
Well, we said, I mean, if we're going to let
buyers,
people come in, yeah, but do you want 4
it'll
buyers
definitely
or
be a
4D?
lot more of our time
You want 4 buyers or 4D
because there's going to be
buyers?
a lot of coordination and then
And
Let's just list it.
qualification.
well, and then we have Kathy.
Let's
got to
just list it.
qualify
Let's
them.
just list it. That's fine.
You know what I mean? You got to qualify the buyers because you don't want to bring somebody there who's not worth it.
And they won't get lending
We just make a
because it has to
decision
be
that
fixed to get
yeah.
lending, right?
And they can't get lending because it's got to have a new roof
So
to
that
get
has to
a
be
lending.
built
And-
into the agreement at some fashion, right?
Right. But if we move the trees, they could get lending potentially.
No.
Conventional. If we remove those trees, they can get conventional financing. They just can't get FHA or VA because of the roof.
Double taps on the breaker?
Yeah.
Well, true.
Okay.
Now I think we could build that into the agreement so we can market it for $499. When they bring us offers, we can say, "Hey, I'm gonna disclose it to you up front. The panel has double taps, and the roof is 12 years old, and it might only have 2 years left on it. The seller is open to make those repairs if you build them into the price. So the roof is gonna cost you this much, and the panel is going to cost you this much. So the panel is going to be, call it $8,000, and then the roof is going to be $10,000. If you're ready to give me an agreement for $525,
I'll be honest with you. You could probably just put it on market with the roof and the panel and just sell it instead of having to negotiate with people.
but it wouldn't pass a 4-point
With the roof and the
with a panel with double taps.
Yeah.
with the roof and a panel, it won't, if you replace the
I don't
panel
think the roof.
and the roof, you don't think it would.
I don't know if the roof won't qualify.
If you replace it, of course,
Right,
of course
and then
it
I
would.
think you put it on market at $525. You're $10,000 cheaper than the next house. You're 700 square feet larger. You got one more bedroom.
I just
and one
don't
more
want to
bathroom.
spend money before, because nobody's opening a panel to look in it, and nobody's going on the roof to look at it either.
True. We could do
But-
525 and say we'll replace the roof and panel with the full price offer as well, and you'd still get people in there.
Isn't it better to list it for $499 and then say
Well, if you list at $499, you're gonna have 400. You're gonna have 100 people in there in a week.
that's exactly what we want?
Right. That's why I didn't want to call and have 4 agents come in. I want a zoo to walk through that place.
Cool.
Would we have to do an open house?
No, we put it on lockbox and let them roll.
Well, just to let people in and out like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you could send Brad
Just
down there
lockbox
and
in, let it roll.
do a thing, but then he's gonna want extra cash. Or I guess he
He
would
wants extra cash.
I was gonna say to do an open house.
Yeah, I mean,
Who's gonna want extra cash?
Brad.
Oh,
I'll do it.
Why
for
would he
now,
want
for
extra?
now.
Yeah.
you'll do it for half of the
Here you
cash
go.
we give Bradley, which is half of an extra
You
zero.
take this, Gino, and you can go do it.
extra cash.
Yeah, man. Dude, I think this was a good conversation.
Yeah.
I think this
I
was
think we
awesome. I think we have a whole
Welcome
lot
to the
more to be said too.
First series of yesterday's podcast.
Hey, let's go. Cool, man. So, guys, if the people want to reach you guys, how do they reach you?
Don't reach us.
You go to 904 sold by BUY Lewis, or what is yours? U Samwell.
It's USA M well.
And that's on, you
Mm.
guys give out your Instagram handles,
Yes.
right? And I'm Real Dom
Yeah.
Felix. And actually, guys, yeah, if you found this interesting, or you want a deal analyzed, or you need help with a deal, or you have a deal you want to sell, we're super interested in all of that.
Yeah.
And you can reach out to any one of us anytime.
Yeah.
But like we said, every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be live for you to go ahead and watch this here on Facebook, also youtube.com/all leads suck. Guys, I'm Dominic Felix.
Luis Rodriguez.
And this is Sam, and sorry we missed Elon Musk today.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys later.